Polyxena, the youngest daughter of King Priam and Queen Hecuba of Troy, was a beautiful and intelligent young woman, loved by all. She was betrothed to the brave Greek warrior, Achilles, but little did she know that their love story would end in a tragic way. After the fall of Troy, Polyxena was captured by the Greeks and was offered as a sacrifice to honor the dead Achilles. She was taken to his tomb where she was slaughtered in cold blood. The king of Troy, Priam, had pleaded with the Greeks to spare his daughter's life, but to no avail. The Greeks were blinded by their desire for revenge and believed the Trojans were responsible for their misery. Polyxena's death was supposed to be a way to exact justice. However, her sacrifice only served to highlight the senselessness of war and the cruelty of mankind. The innocent life of Polyxena was taken for reasons that were not justified. Polyxena's story remains a poignant reminder of the futility of violence and the importance of questioning the morality of war. Despite her tragic fate, she remains an intriguing figure of Greek mythology, whose story raises important questions about justice, morality, and the nature of warfare. Polyxena, the daughter of King Priam and Queen Hecuba of Troy, was known throughout the land for her exceptional beauty and grace. She was tall and very white, with large, captivating eyes and long, flowing black hair that she always wore behind her. Her charming demeanor and well-proportioned body had made her the object of many suitors' affections. Despite all the attention she received, Polyxena remained a virgin and a kind-hearted woman. But her fate would change tragically during the Trojan War. After the death of Achilles, the Greeks demanded a sacrifice to honor their fallen warrior. They chose Polyxena. Polyxena was only 18 years old when she was killed, and her death was one of the most poignant and tragic events of the war. With her slender neck, lovely eyes, blonde, and long hair, and tapering fingers, she was a symbol of innocence and beauty whose life was cut short by the brutality of war. Her sacrifice prompted the anger of her mother, Queen Hecuba, who cursed the Greeks for their savagery and expressed her grief over the loss of her beloved daughter. Polyxena's death was a turning point in the war, and it changed the way that many people viewed the Greeks and the Trojans. Today, Polyxena is remembered as a symbol of innocence and beauty, whose tragic fate was a result of the brutality of war. Her story reminds us of the devastating impact that war can have on even the most innocent and defenseless among us. Polyxena's story. Polyxena was born in Troy, the daughter of the great Trojan war hero Agamemnon and his wife Clytemnestra. She was a quiet and thoughtful girl who often kept to herself. She was not mentioned in Homer's Iliad, but her story was told by later poets. According to an oracle, the defeat of Troy was destined unless Polyxena's brother, Prince Troilus, reached the age of 20. During the Trojan War, the siblings went to fetch water from a nearby fountain when they were suddenly attacked by the Greek warrior Achilles. Sadly, Troilus fell in battle at the hands of Achilles, and Polyxena was left alone to cope with her loss. Achilles, who had slain Polyxena's beloved brother, soon became infatuated with her quiet wisdom. After his friend Patroclus' death, Achilles was still struggling to cope with the grief. Polyxena's words of wisdom brought him some comfort, and he began to trust and confide in her. One day, Achilles was instructed to go to Apollo's temple, and he trusted Polyxena to accompany him. He confided in her his only weakness, his vulnerable heel. It was in the temple that Polyxena's brothers, Paris and Deiphobus, ambushed Achilles and shot him in the heel with a poisoned arrow. The attack was guided by Apollo, who was angry with Achilles for killing so many Trojans. Polyxena was devastated when she learned of Achilles' death. She blamed herself for her trust and support of the Greek warrior. In the end, Polyxena was forced to sacrifice herself to the gods of the Trojans, in a tragic ending to her story. Polyxena, a beautiful and renowned figure in Greek mythology, had always been known for her grace and wisdom. However, her fate was a tragic one. Some said that she committed suicide out of guilt after the death of Achilles, while others believed that she met a far more tragic end. According to the play written by Euripides, her death came about at the end of the Trojan War. The ghost of Achilles appeared to the Greeks and demanded the human sacrifice of Polyxena, so that they could have a favorable wind to sail back to Hellas. Polyxena, being a kind and noble soul, offered herself as the sacrifice, much to the despair of her mother, Hecuba. Despite her mother's pleas, Polyxena remained resolute in her decision. She knew that her virginity was crucial to her character, and thus, she died bravely, refusing to beg before Odysseus or be treated in any way other than a princess. She requested that her mother not mourn her passing and arranged her clothing around her carefully so that she would be fully covered when she met her end. Finally, Neoptolemus, Achilles' son, slit her throat as a sacrifice to the gods. It was a sad and bitter end to a life that had once been so full of promise, but Polyxena had always been a true heroine, and her bravery in the face of death would never be forgotten.
Do you want to explore more Greek mythology stories? Who do you want to see featured next? Subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know. I'll see you in the next video.